This is Terrell from Terrell3.com. Today is February 11th, 2016. This is the Black Star Update Report for Terrell's 2016 newsletter, volume number 6. And things are a little off right now. And the predictive modeling is not holding up. If you look this week, then we had 3 of the 6 magnitude earthquakes. My 2.5 to 4 magnitude earthquake value is still high. I'm expecting a sub 200 value here for the coming week, and it's looking less and less likely that we're going to have the same pattern for 2014, 2015. If you look at outside orbit position for 2014 orbit cycle, you see the minimum values. We didn't have any 3s leading up to it. We didn't have any 3s even in the neighborhood. I mean, 3 of the 6 magnitude earthquakes. We reached a minimum value of a 176 in the winter side of the solar system. See, this is in January. And outside orbit position was in the week of January the 5th. Earlier in the month of January. Go down to 2015, the last orbit cycle, the one that's just ending now, and you see we had 180 of these indicator quakes. And we didn't see any 300s or 400s or anything leading up to that. We saw the gradual drop, and then we see the jolt that follows. See these values almost double. And the year before, those values almost tripled with the jolt value that should come. So this low value it's not likely going to happen this time, and the reason, I can show you on the earthquakes, the reason is because of the magma waves. The one circling around the north, the one circling around the south of the Pacific Ocean Ring of Fire. This is the area where that wave stalled from the south through the recent lull period, and this is the area where the wave stalled on the northern side. If we increase and look at the weeks, this is 2.5 to 4 magnitude and above for the globe for the last week. And you're seeing, let's go down, let's look at how deep they are. These deeper earthquakes, more than 600 kilometers deep down in the transition zone, magma of the Earth mantle. And we're seeing an increasing number of deeper earthquakes in the Alaska quake swarm area too. Lots of them below 100 kilometers. They're not down to the 600 kilometer point yet, but I'm expecting deeper things to come for this region once the Earth change uptick period is well underway. We've already had 600, we're still having 600 kilometer deep, 600 in here, and that's going to be responsible for the magma upwelling. And we're seeing, look at the deep quakes in South America. But still, no signs of deepening for the California quake swarm area. Back up just a little bit. See, we're down to about 24 kilometers. 2 years ago, that would have been about 11 kilometers. They are getting deeper, but they're not showing the depth of what's going on just to the north and just to the south. This is the convergence zone. This is where these two waves are going to eventually come together and create havoc for the United States. But again, I'm not going to reach down when we get down to the bottom of the chart here, where we are right now. Last week's values were not in yet by the time I made the newsletter, and we did get a red value, 2 7s over here, and these are going to be in proximity to these rising magma plumes. So this is definitely not part of the cycle. This is not what is supposed to be happening. Red value right there. This 330 is really high, and but we did get the pretty significant decrease now. That's over 100 quake event decrease, and we only have to get down below sub 200. So if this reduces down below 200, if we get even half the drop, a third of the drop that we had last week, then we're going to make it. But looking at the seismic data, the depth of the quakes, I really don't see how that's possible going forward. And remember that the reason we have the jolts is because of the extreme low value. It's like Earth is at rest. It is seeking to maintain equilibrium and to find equilibrium during this rest period. And see the diminishing quakes leading up to that rest period. The lack of movement. I mean, 1.6, only 18 5s. That 18 value for last week is 23. The week leading up to being at outside orbit position, let me see here, go up a little bit higher. Right here was 219. So we're only about 20 quakes too high to reach down to my sub 200. It should be about at 185 if the pattern followed last year. Those magma plumes are going to keep us high, I'm afraid. I'm going to have to wait for about a month to pass, and I'm going to look back and then find the dip, find the low point, and it should be in this line right here. That should be right around 200, a little bit, should be even a little bit lower than that. Watch for this 23 to drop down. If you notice, look at the last 2 cycles, we were down to 18. 24 down to 18 in the cycle before that. Then we were looking at, let's see here, we got down to 17, but not until the week after. It's a little amazing to me that we had the jolt with all these 2.54 magnitudes, but then the 5s reached the minimum value a week after we got the outside orbit position. This jolt value, 5, it comes in the 5th week. We saw the same thing last year in week number 5. We saw 6 magnitude earthquakes right there, so I expect something similar to happen with the increase in volcanism. And there's a lot of stories in this newsletter about global volcanism. That's going to be connected to the deeper earthquakes and those rising magma plumes that I was talking about there earlier. So also, I wanted to, Steve wrote and asked for a little tutorial on how we're using this program. He was confused about, this is solar system scope. This is not Stellarium. Stellarium is going to give you the Earth in the middle and let you look at the constellations really well. This program, Solar System Scope, and the settings that I'm using, see I'm showing the background constellations, so it gives us the text, and also sliding everything over so that we get the most definition, so we can see very clearly. And really the only reason, and this is not extremely accurate, we can go through these settings right here and go to the planets, put their names on them, and then we can slide these around to give them more accuracy. See, when we shrink everything down, we actually get more accurate, but the purpose here is not to be 100% accurate. It is to give you a visual, a picture of where the Earth is. Now, the black star is in the Libra constellation right here. And if you look, the Earth is right now just about precisely at that 90-degree angle. Just about precisely at the 90-degree angle, which means minimum amount of seismic activity. We get that on either end of the solar system, 90 degrees relative to where the black star is. Draw the straight line straight through the sun, and we're back here at, for the last cycle, black star was still further right in the orbit diagram for November the 24th, the pair of 7.7 Peruvian quakes, 600 kilometers plus deep inside the Earth, and that began the lull period. See back here, Libra, backside, end of November, in this area, we had lots of earthquakes. You see the moon was coming around to actually be a helper in that situation at the time. But then whenever we make this move to outside orbit position over here, black star's going this way, we're going this way, things slow down until we get to that 90-degree angle. Then we start moving towards the black star, and that's getting ready to happen right now. So watch for the uptick. It starts off gradual, but then when we get into March, we start really accelerating towards the Libra constellation and towards the black star. This is what causes the Earth change uptick period. The alignment is going to take place on this cycle, from what I can tell, on May the 7th, right here. Let's see, the moon wants to be a player on the 6th. Mercury wants to be a player, and then notice that Mars is behind us, not in a direct straight line, but black star being, if the black star is still behind it, and the black star is going to be very close to Mars on this cycle. So this is similar to 2012, whenever we got the Martian dust storm. Watch for a mystery Martian dust storm to kick off right around May the 1st. Remember that as Earth comes between the two stars, we are dragging 2 magnetic portal connections with us. They are going to cross. One's from the black star, one's from the sun. Those are going to cross the primary sun black star connection. And as that's happening, expect solar flare activity and mystery Martian dust storm. It's right behind us in orbit. So we have until May. So we are just about right. We are right here right now, just about in this location at the 90-degree angle. So the Earth change uptick period is definitely coming. There's information on here. John DiNardo's writing more, and he is, the more cautious investigators, they're unwilling to build the predictive models, gather the information, build the baseline of information, construct a superior predictive model that's going to tell us what's going to happen in the future. Some people are very afraid to do that because the event doesn't happen. It happens late, happens early, and then you have a lot of explaining to do. That's not the way Project Black Star research works. We look at the modeling for what's happened for the last years, and we know the black star, we've tracked it through Leo, Virgo, and now Libra. So the Earth takes a little longer to come around to come into alignment. And we got Chile 8.8 happening over here, Fukushima, right? The recent quake, April 25th, right in here. And I don't mention the 2013 and 14 events too much because we had so many earthquakes through this period. It was really impossible to tell which of them was my event. Nepal was easier. Well, on the last cycle, on April the 25th, 2015, a little bit easier. And this one, I believe, is going to be right on May the 7th, 2016. And that sets us up for the May 20th, 2017 Earth Black Star Crossing event. That's in the cards right now. I do not see how this can take much longer because Black Star cannot continue moving left in the orbit diagram. It's been coming from way over here. Remember, the model I'm using now is the binary twin, the binary star magnetic repulsion model. It says that as the black star gets closer to the sun, it's interacting with the sun and it's actually slowing down. So you have one force, gravitational, that's pulling it faster and faster in the gravity well, but a second force, magnetic, that with reverse polarity. So it's trying to speed up and it's trying to slow down at the same time. And what it looks like is even though this object is on elliptical orbit and it should be going faster and faster and faster, we're getting these regular 11 to 13 day differentials in our near side alignment events. So I've stopped trying to force the black star to speed up when it has been slowing down all the time. And again, it's due to the fact that the black star and the sun have opposite polarities. It's like trying to push two magnets together, turn the wrong way. That's the best explanation. I know it sounds kind of screwy, doesn't it? But it's the only answer so far that I can find that explains the data. That's the primary model right now, and I expect that to hold. So whenever the prediction comes out for May the 7th, it gives me the right number of days to May the 20th. It just happens to work out that way. May the 20th has been the crossing date from about 2012. That was identified. In 2013, we had the highest number of 2.5 to 4 magnitude earthquakes, not at the jolt, but on the week of May the 20th, whenever we passed Black Star orbit path and it was moving directly towards us. So that's just one reason when you compare that with the magnetic pole migration, then it's telling me that the black star is definitely right over here in the Libra constellation. The seismic chart and the magnetic pole migration chart are saying the same thing. So let me get back. Also, the reason, Steve, you were having difficulties because you're trying to use stellarium with the Earth in the middle wasn't making any sense. You look at what I'm showing you here in these videos, you're looking at the sun in the middle, and that's because we're using solar system scope. That's going to be the difference. Whenever I'm showing the moon alignments, then I'm using stellarium because it's going to point precisely in the background. You can see from Earth position where the moon is, which constellation it's pointing at. And we've been having, if you followed me last year, earthquakes, big earthquakes, deep earthquakes, whenever the moon swings around and comes into alignment with the Earth and the black star. It doesn't happen all the time because this happens once a month, that the moon comes around and swings in, but we're not always in an Earth change uptick period. It's been happening only in the Earth change uptick period whenever Earth core is heating up. Then I think I showed you the recent earthquakes. Another thing that I wanted to point out, those of you following my research, you saw that the Rock of Gibraltar events that we had there was the terminal. It was the end of this line of activity coming across southern Europe that originated with Nepal, 7.8. Once that happened, we had a new series of events. These deeper quakes started. The 7.3 Japan quake in May 2015, record deep, 677 kilometers. That started the Pacific Ocean magma waves coming around. But also this new line of quakes coming across South America, they terminated at Gibraltar. And what did I say? I said, watch for activity at the mid-Atlantic ridge. And that's, you see, and these are all 5 magnitude earthquakes between, oh, there's one 4.9, the rest of them are between 5 and 6. Right out here on the ridge, right here, and look where it's pointing, at the Jamaica quake swarm area, right here. So my view, now we're getting a global picture that you can see much better by looking at the different regions. This line of quakes that came across here, and the reason these aren't bigger right now is because we're at the end of the lull period. Expect new wave of activity to come across here. Once this picks up, say in March, Gibraltar kicks off again, and then we see increased activity at this location, right here along the ridge, pointing directly at Jamaica here. And one of the reasons we're not going to make it down to my predicted 185, 190, 2.5 to 4 magnitude earthquakes is because of the high number of earthquakes that are coming out of, well, Oklahoma, in the center of the country, in the center of the United States, and out here in Jamaica. Look at the number of events. But the reason for that is because of the pressure shift happening over here in the Pacific Ocean Ring of Fire. Solomon Island, February 6, 2013, the tectonic cascade away. Now you got a proliferation of the Baja California quake swarm area that's now an entire U.S. Canada West Coast area. Notice how it's creeping further and further north, and it has already gone through Yellowstone. So what we're seeing here is the Pacific Ocean tectonic volcanic reset after Solomon Island, pressure shifts moving into the Americas. And if these two magma waves hadn't stalled through the low period, these seismic readings would be way, way higher than what they are now. So this is a global thing now, with the activity coming from Nepal across into mid-Atlantic ridge, and then the pressure shift over here on the Pacific Ocean side. You're seeing pressures coming in two directions now that are going to converge here in the United States. Most emphasis on what I've been warning about here for the last couple of years: Cascadia, subduction zone, linchpin event. And that's where this new line of activity running from Texas up through Seattle runs, pointing directly at Cascadia, right? Linchpin event. It's going to happen right here when this magma wave can finally make it through here. We have the linchpin event takes place right about here, and that begins a new series of events. These earthquakes begin deepening. These magma upwelling from underneath starts pressurizing Yellowstone like we have not seen on previous cycles. So that's the big picture of what's going on, and the pattern is becoming more clear even through the low period. So we had 5 new volcanic eruptions this week, and with focus on Kamchatka over here. It's as if, remember, it was Alaska, the big quake event that we had there? It was down here, southern Mexico. Well, it's almost as if these waves are retreating just a little bit backwards and going backwards just a little bit, recessing, retreating away. But now that in the solar system, now that we are beginning to make the move in this direction towards Libra, magnetic portal connection between that we've been dragging behind us. Remember, on back orbit, we're dragging that magnetic portal connection behind us from the black star. It's a loop behind us. But when we turn around this way, that loop straightens out, and we begin moving along the path of the straightening magnetic portal connection. That means that the shortening is actually taking place faster. It was a longer loop that behind us, and it's straightening out to a straight line more. It's not only that the Earth is moving in this direction towards the black star, but the magnetic portal connection is just naturally shortening because the line is becoming straighter too. That's part of the reason for the jolt and severe uptick period that we have every year now. It just starts about 2 weeks later each year. Boom. So that's part of the reason why. That is a look at the big picture of what's going on. Let's look at the magnetic pole migration. It's the magnetic North Pole. Look at the big jump it made last week. I go, darn, man, I'm going to miss my prediction date. But look at now, it's beginning to slow this downward movement a little bit. It's reached out just about as far. I think that we're making this loop. It's going to backtrack upon itself. It's going to backtrack on itself just a little bit and then come down and reach this mark. But again, like I said last week, it looks like that this mark needs to be a little bit lower. What I was trying to do, I'm looking at March 27th right here and trying to back it up, that 11 to 13 days. So in the absence, I looked at February the 5th up here, March 27th, and I chose up here. But I've got a feeling by the time that this line, that we get to March the 27th, that I'm going to be past. It's going to be just about in here, right about the negative 360 mark. So we'll see. I'm still leaving it right here, but I'm just saying, just like with the seismic data, this may be varying just a little bit. But let me see, February. See, look at this line that we have for February the 5th. This is February the 5th last year. Give this about 3 days to reach that point. We're going to be at February the 14th. That's only 9 days. That's a 9-day differential. That's a 9-day lag from where we were last year. What we should have is 11 to 13-day lag. So it's at this point, it's only going to be 2 days from where we're supposed to be. So we'll keep watching the magnetic North Pole. Really, really close with this prediction, but again, I'm thinking that it's going to be off. It's going to be off just a little bit, just a little bit. More information on that is down here in Mike's question. When you come down here to the featured articles, then Bonnie's questions, they had a little bit more priority, helping you guys wake up. There's a radio show link here that I did. Wasn't announced. It was kind of made at the last second there. And as a matter of fact, I'm kind of embarrassed about the fact that I missed the first hour of the show. First hour of the show, you're not going to find me. You're going to have to skip to the middle. The events were happening around here. I got out of my groove. You know me, I don't usually do radio shows on Wednesday. And it's the first time I can remember that I missed the beginning of at the start of a radio show because it was my fault. So I apologize for that. Pretty good show though, lots of information that are in there. And Bonnie, as usual, asks many, many good questions, and I wish I got more of these kinds of questions from newsletter subscribers and contributors. Gives me the opportunity to write this commentary. You guys can benefit a lot by the question and answers. These are questions that you might be thinking about, but you haven't asked yet. She's asking about global population. I give a chart there. And then planetary alignments and jolts. Wesley, he's a relative newcomer, asking some really, really good questions. Appreciate that very much. Gives me the opportunity again to write the commentary, share some links with you guys. And here's Mike's Migrating Magnetic North Pole request. Some more information on the magnetic North Pole. Mike asked the question, maybe similar question that you would ask, and then brief reply right here. Then here's one of the articles. There's another one down below. John DiNardo, he's getting more interest. He's got me on an email list of some sort. He's sending out information, and hopefully that gives more people access to the information that we're looking at here. Remember, John and Sheldon and contributors, even subscribers, you guys can share any link in the 2016 Dropbox folder. Any link. You can share the weekly newsletters, newsletter links and things like that. Just keep the Dropbox 2016 Dropbox folder link giving you access to all of everything. Keep that to yourself. That's what you get for being a contributor or subscriber to the newsletters. So there's a pretty lengthy reply. They're wanting information on my predictions. I went all the way back to 2011, March 3rd. The prediction about Fukushima. Didn't understand. It was the first year. It was the first months of the investigation. Didn't know the difference between brown dwarfs, black dwarfs. I was learning. It's pretty much like now. I'm learning as I go. It's just now I have 5 years experience in making these reports and looking at the data. So shared some information there. And then Dutch Sense, he made a challenge. This is 2716. The link's right here on Dutch's video. He said, if you're one of the people attacking my videos, I'm not actually attacking his videos. And he says it's time to man up. You guys send me a lot of Dutch Sense stuff, and I write comments. I'm not scared to go on his website and write a comment. I'm going to share my view. That's what we're supposed to do. But one of the last times, then Dutch really gave me a scathing reply, and so he says, if you're one of the people, then man up or whatever. And I just told him this fracking thing is nonsense. I just showed you globally what's going on. The pressure shifts. The reason for this tall stack of flags right here in Oklahoma, I showed him the chart, began after 2013. And he gave me a one-sentence reply, like he replied to everything that I said here. And, well, I'm in the wrong place. But look at this long reply that I give him. And this is written as a comment, which is not a very good practice, but he asked for a specific, he sent out a challenge, so that's what I did. And he writes a one-sentence reply, and he thinks that covers everything. So if I was Dutch, I wouldn't want to debate the science either. This is much bigger than fracking. What's going on globally? The global seismic uptick, the volcanic uptick that's going on, that's reported on in this newsletter every week, is not because of fracking. So it's laughable that he wants to take that approach. Somehow, some way, it seems to me like that's a lettered agency operation, or else he's a dupe. One or the other. So much evidence, information, science has been shared with him. He ignores everything and runs to fracking. And okay, if it's fracking, fracking's taking place all over the United States. So explain to me why we have an Oklahoma quake swarm area. Fracking taking place all through this region, up through this region here. And one of my problems was, if you're going to blame fracking, at least call the people, find out if they're doing an actual fracking operation that day, or if they've done one in the last week, or if this is not, he's just saying, well, it's near a fracking operation. That doesn't, no. And what happens when they're 12 kilometers deep? These fracking ops, they do not run nearly that deep. So how do you pump water or even blow up dynamite at a single location and create movement along what's not even a fault line there? They're sitting on top of the North American Craton. How's that possible? The reason that you're seeing pressure there is because of the shape of the North American Craton, extension of the foot there, pointing southwest, and the pressures that are increasing out west in Solomon Island, 2013. That's why it's happening. Nothing to do with fracking. Although, where the quake swarm area is, there are plenty of fracking locations like there are throughout the United States. But to me, it's desensitizing to people. It's making them think that man is creating the seismic uptick when it's not. Most certainly, the black star is doing it. Here's an interesting story about a neutron star approaching Earth. So dive into that. Lots of information in here, and you have to continue reading. Extremely long, and the article's in Russian too. So you click on this link. You're going to have to go. You're going to have to translate it. There should be a button right there, and then here they come. February quakes, too big. And I went to Higher Truth channel and I wrote this commentary for him. It may be a little similar to what I shared with Dutch Sense, and but you know, giving him accolades, excellent work. But the pattern is not February. The pattern was February back in 2010, 8.8 Chile, when the black star was between the Earth and the Leo constellation, between the Sun and the Leo constellation. All of this has moved later, 2 weeks, 11 to 13 days, just about 2 weeks each year. It's moving later and later and later. So it was February. Think about it. Fukushima is March. Guerrero was March. Then we get into early April. 2015, it was late April. And if you want me to show you in the seismic chart, I mean, the evidence is right here. April. Look at all the big earthquakes that we're having. In April. It's not in February. February. Let's go back and look at February. There ain't any sevens. There's not any in March either. They started in February. I'm started in April, right here. And when we look at it for last year, you see the end of April and into May. Then that's whenever we were having the at the near side alignment event. It's about the 13th to the 14th week that we begin the cycle. 2014, the cycle begins January, early January, then late January, and then February. So there is a pattern here, and people just don't want to sit down and look at all the evidence. They either want to look at the earthquakes and nothing else, fracking, nothing else, or they're astronomers. They're just looking at what they can see through their telescope. They have niches. That's the problem that I'm running into. What we need is somebody that can do comparative analysis of the charts for the seismic chart, has their own astronomer like we have in this project, so that we can look where we're supposed to look, and if we can't see it, the darn thing's invisible. We need to look at the mass animal deaths, the magnetic pole migration. We need to look at all these things, all the earth changes, shrinking heliosphere, weakening magnetosphere, but no. Suspicious observers wants to talk about the sleeping sun. We're going to a moderate minimum. That's his excuse, like Dutch uses fracking, and like BP Earthwatch uses CERN. All right, so I feel kind of lonely in this investigation. Only one, and that's what I said to John DiNardo. This is the best investigation, in my view, because it's so complex. There's so many different variables. We have to run comparative analysis on so many different things. When are the mass animal deaths happening? Near outside orbit position. Whenever we're getting the flip-flopping of the magnetic portal connections, changing in the magnetosphere. Then I'll look at my clock. I'm running a little bit long here. Lots and lots of commentary. And I say this for quite a few of the newsletters, but there's more commentary. I've written more commentary back and forth with people in this newsletter than any that's been published so far. Trying to give a little more structure to the newsletters, and but there's so many important stories. So many important stories. Even in the low period here, there's so much going on, and there's information coming from so many different sources. Here is a great one right here. These plasma tubes, giant plasma tubes that have, they've like been discovered. And why is it in a student? Like the Canadian student with the repulsion modeling. Why is it a student, not an astrophysicist, that's making these discoveries? So they're discovering these tubes, and this is going to be the way that the sun conveys energy to the earth through the magnetic portal connection, and that energy is transferred to create our magnetosphere. It's not because of earth metals. It's not because of the churning earth core. Earth core churns, and earth metals conducts energy from the sun. That's why the heliosphere is shrinking with reduced solar output and the Earth magnetosphere is weakening at the same time, because they're all connected. So this is the missing link in the connection between what's going on in Earth core from electromagnetism received by the sun and by the black star. Remember, it's redirecting solar electromagnetism. So the sun appears to be going to sleep and the Earth's getting hotter. All the planets are getting hotter based upon near proximity to the black star. That's the hole in our sun that's making solar cycle 24 flatline, at the same time that Earth is getting hotter and hotter temperatures every year. So there's a conflict there explained by the magnetic portal connections and the black star. Introducing the black star explains how the magnetic North Pole, why the magnetic North Pole is migrating the way that it is, because of the influence of another magnet. Traditional modeling says it's because of redistribution of Earth metals. That is not what's happening. Those models will break down, but like the modern minimum modeling that suspicious observers uses and the geologists use, these pole shift, magnetic pole shift models, they are not going to work. But the lettered agencies, they have a rhyme and a reason for things that have happened in the past. That's what they're selling us as disinformation. The answer is going to be with the black star. Here's another one from John DiNardo. He sends information. He's writing back and forth with Gary. John replies to Gary, and then I come in behind and give my reply. And why is March the 26th, 2016 a big date? Why is it a big date? It's because Gil Broussard says it is. According to him, he's got a planet coming in here 7 times massive as the Earth, and it's already crossed Earth orbit path on January the 10th, but nobody can see it with a telescope. This gigantic thing would have been seen beyond Pluto orbit. With amateur astronomers with backyard telescopes can see Pluto. How can they not see this thing 7 times bigger than the Earth? The reason we can't see the black star is because of microlensing, the gravitational lensing effect. It's a star. It is not a planet. It has a planetary relationship with our sun, but nevertheless, it is still a collapsed, imploded star that we simply cannot see. Okay, definitely do not want this video to go over 20 minutes. We got our little tutorial in there, and what I did not get to, or did I? Apologize, I'm having a little bit of trouble today. The coming down with something, and my head feels like it's in a cloud a little bit. But the heroes here, Vaubert, she's the general manager of Revolution Radio, and Michelle, Sarah, Autumn, and Leonard, and I think I did go through this with you guys. Kirk wrote, and he's going to renew manually, and then Randy made another donation. Appreciate you guys' support very, very much. Thank you for making the Project Black Star investigation possible. And I will be there on the radio show today from 4 to 5, Revolution Radio, Black Star, Thursday. And following the show, I will upload the link immediately to the newsletter so that you guys can have it for over the weekend. Thank you guys again. And as always, you can subscribe, support the research, and subscribe at terralo3.com. Just click on the link and everything should be very easy. If you do not trust PayPal, for some reason, some people don't trust PayPal, write me at terrell@terralo3.com. Just like it sounds, there's my name, terrell@terralo3.com. You can write me there. That's for non-subscribers. And I will give you a way so that you can go around PayPal and become a subscriber. Thank you guys again, and I'll see you on the next Black Star Update Report. Hello, everybody. This is Terrell from terralo3.com. Today is February 11th, 2016. This is the Black Star Update Report for Terrell's 2016 newsletter, volume number 6. And things are a little off right now. And the predictive modeling is not holding up. If you look this week, then we had 3 of the 6 magnitude earthquakes. My 2.5 to 4 magnitude earthquake value is still high. I'm expecting a sub 200 value here for the coming week, and it's looking less and less likely that we're going to have the same pattern for 2014, 2015. If you look at outside orbit position for 2014 orbit cycle, you see the minimum values. We didn't have any 3s leading up to it. We didn't have any 3s even in the neighborhood. I mean, 3 of the 6 magnitude earthquakes. We reached a minimum value of a 176 in the winter side of the solar system. See, this is in January. And outside orbit position was in the week of January the 5th. Earlier in the month of January. Go down to 2015, the last orbit cycle, the one that's just ending now, and you see we had 180 of these indicator quakes. And we didn't see any 300s or 400s or anything leading up to that. We saw the gradual drop, and then we see the jolt that follows. See, these values almost double. And the year before, those values almost tripled with the J, with the jolt value that should come. So this low value it's not likely going to happen this time, and the reason, I can show you on the earthquakes, the reason is because of the magma waves. The one circling around the north, the one circling around the south of the Pacific Ocean Ring of Fire. This is the area where that wave stalled from the south through the recent lull period, and this is the area where the wave stalled on the northern side. If we increase and look at the weeks, this is 2.5 to 4 magnitude and above for the globe for the last week. And you're seeing, let's go down, let's look at how deep they are. these deeper earthquakes more than 600 kilometers deep down in the transition zone magma of the Earth mantle. And we're seeing an increasing number of deeper earthquakes in the Alaska quake swarm area too. Lots of them below 100 kilometers. They're not down to the 600 kilometer point yet, but I'm expecting deeper things to come for this region once the Earth change uptick period is well underway. We've already had 600, we're still having 600 kilometer deep, 600 in here, and that's going to be responsible for the magma upwelling. And we're seeing, look at the deep quakes in South America. But still, no signs of deepening for the California quake swarm area. Back up just a little bit. See, we're down to about 24 kilometers. 2 years ago, that would have been about 11 kilometers. They are getting deeper, but they're not showing the depth of what's going on just to the north and just to the south. This is the convergence zone. This is where these two waves are going to eventually come together and create havoc for the United States. But again, I'm not going to reach down. When we get down to the bottom of the chart here, where we are right now, last week's values were not in yet by the time I made the newsletter, and we did get a red value, 2 sevens over here, and these are going to be in proximity to these rising magma plumes. So this is definitely not part of the cycle. This is not what is supposed to be happening. Red value right there. This 330 is really high, and but we did get the pretty significant decrease now. That's over 100 quake event decrease, and we only have to get down below sub 200. So if this reduces down below 200, if we get even half the drop, a third of the drop that we had last week, then we're going to make it. But looking at the seismic data, the depth of the quakes, I really don't see how that's possible going forward. And remember that the reason we have the jolts is because of the extreme low value. It's like Earth is at rest. It is seeking to maintain equilibrium and to find equilibrium during this rest period. And see the diminishing quakes leading up to that rest period. The lack of movement. I mean, 1.6, only 18 fives. That 18 value for last week is 23. The week leading up to being at outside orbit position, let me see here, go up a little bit higher. Right here was 219. So we're only about 20 quakes too high to reach down to my sub 200. It should be about 185 if the pattern followed last year. Those magma plumes are going to keep us high, I'm afraid. I'm going to have to wait for about a month to pass, and I'm going to look back